Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. I'm so excited to have you here because today is the latest Lawn Fawn Fans video hop for the fall season. Now, I did all of my stamping and cutting ahead of time to save a little bit of time in this video. I have images from Absolutely Awesome, and I also stamped and colored the latter, but forgot to show it here. I stamped everything in Lawn Fawn's Crunchy Leaf Brown ink, which is an alcohol marker friendly ink, and I colored all my images in using Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers. I also used Happy Harvest to stamp this cute little scarecrow. I grabbed the wagon from Let's Go Nuts. I also have a couple clouds. These are the medium-sized clouds from the All the Clouds set. And I also have the other little mouse in the overalls from Berry Special. It's pretty much a mirror image from the Absolutely set. And then I also have my sentiment from Scripty Autumn Sentiments. So I've die cut my pieces from the Peekaboo Pop Up Lawn Cut set, and I die cut them out of some Bristol White Smooth cardstock. And I added a little hill feature using that little hill die that is in the set, but I wanted to add one more hill that was the same width and had those nice little curved corners there, rounded corners. So I'm going to take that extra piece and I'm lining up the edge with the curved corner without any type of scoring up against that first score line. And then I have the die cut going to go through my die cut machine, and I have my plates just going where that cut is and creating that little rounded corner. So there's just a tiny bit of stitching going past my corner, but that's just a trick you can do if you want to create a second hill for your pop-up die set, your Peekaboo pop-up die set. And then I'm going to use that same stitched hill die to add a little bit of a hill to that die cut piece as well. So let's get to distressing. I'm starting with Mowed Lawn as my lighter of my two colors because I want to create some dimension on my grassy hills, and then the darker color will be Rustic Wilderness. So I'm starting with applying my Mowed Lawn to the top of my hill. I like to start with my lighter color first, and then I will go in with the Rustic Wilderness on the bottom. In order to keep my fingers out of my ink, I'm just using a clear block to help me keep my paper in place. I learned this trick from my crafty pal, Justin Atkins. I absolutely love this idea, and it is now my go-to, so I don't have to constantly use tape or post-it notes on my fingers. So I'm bringing up that darker green and blending it into the lighter green. And I'm just going to go back and forth until I'm happy with the colors and the blend. I'm using my domed foam applicator from scrapbook.com. I have a dome foam for every color in my oxide collection. So this is how I like to blend and keep my colors from cross-contaminating on my domed foam applicators. I check to see if I have the Rustic Wilderness high enough on my back hill, and I wanted it a little bit higher, so just bringing in some more color. So there you can see how the two hills will be stacked together on the final card. To add some splatter, I'm grabbing my Rustic Wilderness, this time in the Distress ink pad. I put some onto my glass mat and I sprayed some water, and I'm using a very fine paintbrush and tapping it against my clear block just to add a little bit of speckling to both of my hilly green pieces. I'm going to set those aside to dry, and let's jump over into creating our sky. For the sky, I'm using Salvage Patina, Broken China, and Shaded Lilac, which is actually inspired from a card I saw created by Shari from Lawn Fawn. I just thought those colors were so pretty together and wanted to try it for myself. So I have my Peekaboo pop-up set where my hills have the score lines on the right. So I want to make sure that when I'm coloring my background and coloring it in a different, in a set color way, not just one color, that I'm coloring with my score lines to the left. So that way when I put it together, I'm not sad that my sky is upside down. So don't ask me how I know that. So I'm blending those three colors together, and it takes me a little while to really get the color blend how I like, but I just keep going back between salvage patina, broken china, and shaded lilac until I'm happy with the result. Before I finish off here, I'm going to grab my cloudy stencil, and I'm just adding a little bit of subtle clouds to my background using one of the edges and shaded lilac, and I'm going to repeat that twice. It's super subtle and you really can't see it in the final card. So if you're reproducing this card or casing it, I don't know if you really need this step, but it's up to you. I think it added some subtle detail, and it's a little hidden, surprise when you really look into the details of the card. Once I'm finally happy with the background, I'm going to repeat the same process like I did with my grassy hills. I'm grabbing shaded lilac in distress ink, adding some water, and grabbing another fine paintbrush and splattering some of that color onto my background. It's very subtle. I really like how it turns out. I also grabbed my Zig Cartoonist white brush pen, added some water, and I'm splattering on some white ink. And finally, just some good old fashioned plain water, just splattering it on to oxidize those inks and add just a little bit more texture. I'm going to set that aside to dry and clean up my workstation. And once all of my background or my components of my interactive die are ready, I'm going to start folding. So I'm folding my green piece, and I did the mountain fold and then the valley because it is on the front. I had a little bit of the inner core of my cardstock show when I folded the paper, so I just grabbed my dome foamed applicator with the green ink and just put some ink on that spot, so you can't even tell. I'm going to do the same thing to my sky because the same thing happens on this thicker Bristol smooth cardstock. For my background, I'm doing a valley and then a mountain fold because this will be on the back side of my card. And to help with the scoring, I'm just using my scoring tool to really crease those edges. So here's how my card is going to fold together. I originally cut all three of the inside mechanism pieces, and I was going to use the smallest arm for the peekaboo. But as I was playing around with my card, I decided that it wasn't really where I wanted it to go. So I'm actually going to use the medium arm instead. And I'm not really going to show all that detail because this is a hop and I'm already keeping you here probably way too long. So I'm skipping all of the troubling parts and just showing you the highlights. So please don't think this video or this card was a smooth process. There was a lot of trial and error, but since it's a hop, I'm just showing you the good parts. I'm going to add in my little arm mechanism. I'm following the Lawn Fawn tutorial, so if you don't know how to use this die, definitely check out Lawn Fawn's video, their YouTube channel, for this introduction to this die because Kelly does a wonderful job explaining how to use it. I refer to their videos all the time when I'm trying to remember how to use an interactive die when it's been a while. So once I know that I'm using the medium piece, I know which side to add glue and which side it's folded. I'm going to attach that to the inside of my card just like the video shows. Now, silly goose me, I forgot to add color to my arm before gluing it in. I did use an adhesive runner, so I probably could have really gently just pulled it up and distressed it, but that's okay. I grabbed a piece of scrap paper and I'm just going to add those same combination of three colors onto that little arm. So when it opens, it kind of hides itself, it disguises itself into the background. A lot of this arm will be covered by my images that I'm going to add to my card, but I like to make sure that anything that's supposed to be hidden looks hidden and it's not super obvious. I'm going to complete my peekaboo card by adhering the other side of my grassy front to my sky background, again using some strong adhesive tape. Now that really completes the basics of the Peekaboo pop-up card. As you can see here, it's popping up, it's peeking out, it's working how it's intended. So I'm very happy and I'm going to get to figuring out where I'm going to put my little mouse that's eating an apple. I'm hiding him inside of my tree so it looks like my little apple or my little mouse is eating an apple, hiding inside the tree, while the rest of the mice are doing their jobs of picking the apples and maintaining their orchard, while this little guy, which would be me, is hiding and eating snacks. So I put him on with some temporary adhesive to where I think it will go onto the peekaboo arm. And then I figured out where I need to place my tree in order for my little mouse to peek itself out inside the tree. I added some adhesive and I'm adhering it directly to my green hill, making sure to not get any adhesive above the edge of the green hill because I don't want it to get stuck to my background. I glued on my little mouse, my ladder, my sign, and a little apple that my mouse is going to hold onto this background. Now I know it looks like my ladder and is just like floating in midair, but that's because I'm going to attach this other hill piece, and I'm using some really thin foam squares from scrapbook adhesive. I think it's like a millimeter thick, super thin. And I'm attaching this front hill to the front of my card so that way it gives me a little more playing area for my the rest of my images and creates a lot of dimension and perspective. So I'm gluing on my scarecrow and I'm using some foam adhesives and wet glue. So the wet glue is going to be where it attaches to the front hill and the foam adhesives are where it attaches to the back hill. Again, making sure to not get any adhesive onto where it will overlap into the background. I also popped up my little mouse with the basket of apples in its wagon, and I also popped up the clouds, making sure that they did not interfere with my mechanism at all. Again, everything adhered down with that's popped up is using those thin foam adhesives. I'm going to add my sentiment to the top right of my card. So just using some wet glue behind that scripty sentiment and adhered it down. And now I'm going to do something really daring and I never recommend, but you know, we're playing with fire here. I'm going to stamp one more sentiment onto my card. I'm using VersaFine in Pinecone because VersaFine usually gives me a really nice stamped image. Did you see my happy hands? It worked fine. The first time, I don't need to use my Misty always with that ink. So, and also keeping with the brown ink, that's why I used Pinecone. Well, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can check out all of the details of the hop down below in my description, including our sponsored giveaway. So make sure you read the description, click the link to our next hopper, and most of all, have lots of fun and leave comments along the way. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!